Hey there, Heather Thompson, Clarity Life Coach, Alignment Specialist, author, and speaker, here to talk to you about succeeding over stress. 3 ways to thrive in a negative work environment. Let's go ahead and get into this. But before we do, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to go ahead and click the subscribe button. If you're on Instagram, make sure to follow me for more content. Number 1, know your role, but be mindful of your appointment. Now, what do I mean by that? If you haven't followed me before, paid attention to my videos, I indeed come from a Christian's perspective. So if you don't like that, go ahead and click away. But let's talk about this. Know your role, but be mindful of your appointment. What that means is there are a lot of us who are working a particular job and have a side business, or you're working a job in a difficult time while you have a full-time business and you're doing both. It can be stressful, but kudos to you. You are managing it, you're handling everything. But you know that there are times where things can be so negative on your job. Maybe you had something that recently went wrong. Could have been a small effort, could have been a big project. And there could be a lot of tension going on. Maybe it's your fault, maybe it's someone else's. It could be that you're working with people who just don't seem to like you, or you're not that crazy about the company, but you're there temporarily for the pay. And maybe you've been there for a long time, and while you enjoy aspects of your job, you don't love the place. Well, here's the thing. You've got to know your role. You've got to be able to play your part. You've got to be able to make sure that no matter how you're feeling about the job, that you're showing up, that you're doing everything that you're supposed to do, because you want to operate in excellence, especially if you say that you are a person who is not ashamed of their faith. You're not afraid to speak out in certain matters in your life, and even a little bit respectively so on the job. But you want to make sure that you are doing the job that you're supposed to. Have you noticed that oftentimes if you work with someone who considers himself to be a Christian, or they consider themselves to be devout in another faith, that sometimes they can tell you so much about their belief, but you don't see enough about their work ethic. You don't see enough about who they really are, what makes them great on the particular job. You just know that they love Jesus, but they don't seem to love anything else that makes sense for that particular role. Do you know what I mean when I say that? It's important that you're not just fervent about your faith. Be fervent about doing the job that you've been assigned. That part is where knowing your appointment comes in, making sure that you are indeed mindful of your appointment. You are in the spaces that you're in for a divinely appointed time, season, and reason. Sometimes you're working for someone else while you're even working for yourself, because you need to be in that environment to learn from your boss, from other coworkers, know how to properly run aspects of business before you either fully step out on your own, or before you branch out and do more with the business that you currently run. It is important that you have the right business etiquette and grooming for where you're headed, but you want to respect your employer while you're there. You want to make sure that even if you don't have a side business, that you're doing your job and taking care of your role the way that you said you would the day that you got interviewed. Can you say that you're still doing that? If you can't, this is a great time for you to check in with yourself and say, how can I be better? For some people that sounds corny, but for people who are just driven by their faith, driven by their beliefs, it's not, and you understand. So don't just feel so weighed down by conviction if that's you. If it is, that you don't move. Make sure that you decide, okay, I'm going to take a look at what it is that I can do better, and that you immediately start to apply that. You don't want to miss out on the thing, especially in your future. So make sure that you do what's right by your employer, and you'll definitely be setting yourself up for a better future. Number 2, have a trusted confidant outside of the workplace. I know it can be really cool to have, some people talk about having a work wife or a work husband, nothing crazy going on. But if you're familiar with that term, you have somebody that you can talk to about a lot. Maybe it's not someone that is an opposite gender. You're talking about just having a girlfriend or a guy that you can speak to when you have a quick break or you go to lunch. Maybe you don't even talk at work, but you see each other later. Keep in mind that while that's all great, you want to make sure that you have someone that you can speak with who is not connected to your job. There are many people who thought that they could just vent and spew their feelings about their workplace to someone else in the workplace. And what they didn't realize is that that person really wasn't who they thought they were. They were a good friend, but maybe an opportunity came for a raise, or maybe an opportunity came for a new role for them to take on, and you might have wanted it too, and they found a way to edge you out by sharing some personal information that they divulged to the wrong person. And now who's going to pay for it? You are. You might be paying for it much longer than you thought, or for much more expensive ways than you thought. It's not worth it. If you're going to have someone to speak with, if you want to be able to talk about your work, make sure that it is a trusted, tried and true confidant that you do not work with. They are not at your particular workplace. They're not in your business. Whatever the case is, be able to speak to them, and do so when you know, do so that you know that what you're saying can be trusted with that individual. Don't say too much, but because sometimes we end up treating other people like our journals when we really need to do the work ourselves in situations. You can avoid a lot of backlash when you do that, but just to stick to the actual point, make sure that you are speaking to someone, if you need to, regarding your work outside of the workplace. Another tip that can help keep you employed and can keep there from being certain drama where you don't need it, and that's on your job. Number 3, do regular check-ins with yourself and with God in your time alone, and make sure that you are on track and on purpose. Again, make sure that you are spending time alone to do regular check-ins with God and yourself to make sure that you're on track and in purpose. Now, I know you're like, that's a big mouthful and it sounds like number 1, but this is a continuation. Sometimes the issue is that isn't that you're not doing your job. You're doing an excellent job. Sometimes you have a trusted confidant and it's not someone that works with you. You are pretty much doing all you can to stay on the straight and narrow and yet do an excellent job and not compromise yourself. But have you ever heard of someone saying that you're doing an excellent job at the wrong thing, or doing the right thing at the wrong time or in the wrong place? There are some of us who are so afraid to step out on faith or to just simply do another job because we're like, I'm comfortable here. I have great rapport with my coworkers. My bosses respect me, or I'm the boss, and my colleagues respect me for the work that I do. But you know, if this applies to you, that there's more that you're supposed to be doing, that there's a particular degree program that you're supposed to pursue, that maybe you need to try to transfer to another office across the country because where you are isn't for you anymore. Only you know the reason. Maybe it's because you've saved income, you got a coach or consultant walking you through what it is that you need to do to step out, and you know that you've been called into full-time entrepreneurism and you have a plan to make it, but you don't do it. Any of what I've just described, whether it's the degree program, transferring to another state and staying with your company, or not stepping out and creating a business if you're supposed to. These are just a few examples. But in any way that you're out of alignment, you are out of assignment. It's not worth it. Again, this is for the faith-based crew, and anybody I think can relate to this message, really. But you need to do some regular check-ins. You need to make sure that if you're feeling those twinges, you're feeling those warning signs that you're out of place, you want to make sure that the whisper of you being in the wrong doesn't turn into the scream, meaning that you don't want your life and circumstances around you and things falling apart because you wouldn't take the right step at the right time. There is nothing like doing that, because being on time and in season means that whatever's supposed to open up for you after the fact has the opportunity to do so, because the chain reaction for that to happen was set up in the first place. You have to be willing to do the right thing at the right time concerning your employment. And I know at the time of this video being recorded, and we're September 2020, there's so much going on concerning the pandemic, concerning people losing jobs and having their income being in a place they don't like. But let's be honest, another side of this is that's not happening to everybody. Everyone's not losing. There are investors, and I don't say that lightly or to mock anyone, but I want you to know there are people that are still hiring. There are people who are buying up real estate. There are people who are just doing excellently in the stock market. There are people who are taking risks risk because they understand the value of doing so. They understand that there is no reward without the risk. But make sure that whatever risk you're taking, that you're doing it well, that you're doing it correctly. Get some help. Don't be afraid to speak with someone that can help you walk through these situations. Maybe it's a business counselor, maybe it's a coach, maybe it's someone who's done what you're planning to do and they've succeeded in it. Get the wise counsel. I recommend that a lot on this channel if you watched me before. But do whatever you do after you get it, don't just sit there with all the knowledge and do nothing. Make sure that you take the right action steps, put the strategy in place so that you can see the results. That is indeed how you can achieve success. So again, a quick recap on 3 steps to thrive in a negative work environment, how we can succeed over stress. Number 1, know your role, but be mindful of your appointment. Don't lose sight of what you're supposed to do with your job and what you're supposed to do for your future at the same time. This is especially true for those of you who are entrepreneurs or you just see a particular path for your future. Do what's right in every situation possible. Number 2, have a trusted confidant outside of the workplace. I think that one speaks for itself. We covered it pretty well. And number 3, do regular check-ins with yourself and with God to make sure that you are on track and in purpose. There is nothing worse than doing the right thing at the wrong time because it won't always yield the results that you want. You want to make sure that you're planting great seeds so that you can continually reap a harvest that blesses your life, your family, your community. It goes on and on. So thank you so much for joining me. Again, I'm Heather Thompson here. I'm Clarity Life Coach, Alignment Specialist, author, and speaker. I have so enjoyed being here with you. If you have not, as I asked you to do earlier, please feel free to go ahead and click the subscribe button here on YouTube. And if you're watching via Instagram, I appreciate you as well. Please make sure to follow my page for more content and to click the link in my bio to make sure that you're going to get all the information that you need about what I do and how I do it. So thank you again for being with me. And as I always say, if you feel you're not having a great day, make it one. It is within your power to do so. God bless, take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.